All right. So let's talk about money and some habits that we need to create. There's a really funny thing the other day. It was Gen Z living in New York, and she listed how I budget my $140,000 salary living in New York City. So it said Gen Z, how you budget, right? And it was what was comical about it was because you're living in New York, right? Today in New York City, the average rent is $5,500. Okay. So she was saying my one bedroom apartment, $6,500, cost of Uber, cost of eating out, cost of this, cost of that. And it literally added up to almost 140,000. So people took a snapshot of that on Twitter, and then all the financial people, which are the people I follow, they were all laughing at it because they were saying Gen Z thinks budgeting is spending all your money. So people are making, that's huge generalization, but it was, someone thought that was actually a good post. Like, here's how I spend all my money, right? There's no like, this is going into 401k, this is savings, whatever. So it's funny. But we live in a culture now where, everybody wants to see everything that you have, and you really have to resist that stuff. One of the things that I studied early on and still interests me a lot is money psychology. Why do behavioral finance, right? Why do people act a certain way? Why do they think a certain way when it comes to money? Where do we get these beliefs? And I think that that's one of the things that we can challenge here in Primerica when people come in is examples of good behavior when it comes to your finances and how you should be thinking about it. I know for a fact that there's sales organizations out there that promote the salespeople in all different industries to spend their money because that's how they know that they're going to continue selling and working as hard as they do. Because if the guys are hungry, it's like they're on a treadmill. So I know people, they worked at car dealerships, and afterwards, they're at the bar at Morton's and they're spending everything that they just made that day from what they sold. This is kind of how they keep everybody going. So let's go through this. You got to save a lot of money. I heard on an audio when I was a lot younger, Hector Lamarck, which is who I grew up learning from. He's like a legend in Primerica. He said that financial independence is like an energy. You'll never know it until you have it. You can't even imagine what it's like. The lack of stress, right? Not having to worry about anything. And he's like, you can just tell, not by what people have, just by the way that they come across. You have to build a budget. I realized when I started spending time with wealthy people, and this is what, I'll go back to this point here. I forgot why I wrote it, and I remember. When I didn't have money, I would always think of, I want money so I can buy this. That's how I would think. When I have money, I'm going to buy this, then I would buy this. Why is he buying that? I would buy this. And that's how it was. Everything was in terms of consumption and how to spend the money. And then when I started spending time with wealthy people, I realized that they had some things, but that's not what they were concerned about. They were always concerned about moving money from one opportunity to another opportunity. So money is like a current, right? It has to flow from asset to asset to continue making money. Building a budget. Building a budget, it takes a lot of discipline. Sticking to a budget. But one of the things that I tell my clients is, hey, you want to be guilt-free in your spending, make sure that you have a budget where all the things that you need to be putting money towards, those things are taken care of. So the money that's left, you can be guilt-free, right? If you're fully funding your 401k, fully funding IRAs, putting as much money in kids' college savings, you are debt-free. Then at the end of the day, if you want to go buy a Mercedes, go buy a Mercedes. Because you're paying yourself first, then you're paying Mercedes. You don't want to pay Mercedes first and then you're left with nothing to pay yourself. That's the mindset that you have, right? 20% is a golden rule. You should strive to save 20% of your income. Now, when you get to a much bigger income, people say save 50% of your income. Rod said what? All the money he made off the premium that he wrote, 100% of it went into savings. We had people in Primerica, they have saved for 20 years, 100% of their part-time income. They can retire early. I heard this from one of my mentors, save yourself broke. Put away as much money as you possibly can. Because that's, instead of spending the money to drive you, how about you save the money and it's no longer there and that drives you? How many times have I told you, like, dude, I got to make money, man. I only have like 11 grand in my account. The way she's interpreting that is not the way an outside, she knows that's because you're putting all the money in the investments, right? You just wrote a check for 50 grand here, 40 grand here, 60 grand here, right? Because I don't want that, the comfort of the money sitting there. People get so comfortable. When you save your first 10 grand, 20 grand, 30 grand, 100 grand, it's like people get so comfortable. You got to make sure you put that away. And of course, emergency funds. I was having a conversation with them the other day, and it was someone in my family, and he was like, I'm not money driven. And I was like, well, that's got to change. And he just laughed because he knows me, right? And he's like, how is it going to change? And I said, you want to think about money less, make more of it. If you're so concerned about not being money driven, how about you just make it? That way you literally don't have to think about it. How many times do people think about money because they're forced to think about it? All the time. When you go to the grocery store, when a bill comes up, when an emergency comes up, when it's time to pay a bill, every time. I know something, I mean, every time rent comes up, even in these buildings that I live in, right? I wonder how people live there, because if you have an envelope that they put in your door and it's like the 5th, that means you didn't pay your rent. And I'm just thinking, like, how are you living here? You didn't pay your rent. How are you not on auto pay? Like you have to make that decision every month, whether you're paying or not. And I'm not coming down, like, you just shouldn't be living in that building. I understand that's a reality of life in some places and some people, and people have legitimate things going on, but you know, the easiest way, what's another Primerica cliche? The majority of your problems can be solved by writing a check. Some things can't, but a lot of things can. And that's why you got to become financially independent. And what I learned early on, because my parents, like Shaq's parents, were very frugal. They had every way possible to go cheaper on everything so they could save money, save money, save money. Well, that's because my dad was on a salary. So the only way that he could increase savings is to decrease expenses. But the cool thing about even part-time or full-time, having a variable income is that you can make more money. So I don't always want to focus on spending less. I want to spend that same amount of time and energy on making more. This is a huge, like, it's a great concept for people that have never been introduced to it. People are living their life and they're trying to figure out every way to spend less. How about you figure out that, put that same energy towards making more? For example, getting a license, getting trained, learning securities, learning how to sell, learning how to prospect, being in these meetings. You guys are doing that. You're here because you want to grow your income. Choosing the right investments, right? It's a choice. You choose to put your money in a life insurance policy as your way to get financially independent. That's a bad choice. That's not the right investment. You can do it. It's not against the law, but it's not going to help you get financially independent. I heard this just this morning. Someone said, I can't teach you how to get rich quick, but I can definitely show you how you can get poor fast. And it's by trying to get rich quick. What do you think crypto was? I'm not challenging the concept, the technology. I know more about it than most people. That's not what I'm talking about. But what got so many people involved, it's because there was this dream of a 20x, 50x, 100x. When it's in a trading range and it's just staying the same amount, you look 6 months, 1 year, year and a half, right? And it's just, no one's that excited about it because people want what? Home runs. And when you try to hit a home run, you can strike out. What'd that consultant tell us? He said, I had a client and she was putting her money in Peloton stock using options. And she called and she was like, I'm good. I don't have anything to worry about. She took 100 grand, turned it into 3.5 million. I was like, okay, good for you. Next year, she called back. She's like, hey, I'm back. I lost it all. But that's everybody. That's everyone, you know, it happened in crypto. It happened in stocks. Even if you hit a home run, what I've learned is that people's behavior at that top, people's mindset, the decision making, they think it'll keep happening. It's very difficult, even if you hit the home run, to do the right thing when you get to the top. Right? Or you have this idea that, why couldn't this go to 7 million? Me and you, we know someone who personally traded their account up to 8 million and then they lost it all. I have the screenshots. There's a day he made $1 million a day. I have a friend, he made $1 million in 1 day, all gone. The only way to ensure that you are going to get rich is slowly. People coming to you saying, like I said, we get proposed, I get proposed, Shaq gets proposed business opportunities every 2 weeks. Someone says a PowerPoint, someone Zoom. I do it for learning. I'm never going to invest the money. But after all these years, right? It's like Shark Tank. You go back and you look, hey, what investments actually did good on Shark Tank? Where are they now? They have like a whole thing that's dedicated to that. People write about us. No one's ever come back to me, or I've never researched or like, man, I missed out on that 10x opportunity. Well, it was someone's dream, right? It was someone's goal, someone's investment, but I didn't put my money into it. Make more money. Why? If you save 20% of 50,000 or of 250,000, which is $50,000, is better than 30% of 100,000. So people are trying to save more, save more, save more, but there's only so much you can save of 100 grand. How about you make more money, right? Even at a lower percentage, you're going to save more. Avoid lifestyle inflation. Generally, people let expenses rise with income. You know, have I done that? Yes. I drive a nicer car than I used to. I live in a nicer place than I used to. But what people don't know, and not everybody has this luxury, is that I lived with my parents until I was 33. Think about that. I was making money for a minute and I'm living with my parents because I didn't want that expense. So I got a huge head start on my savings because I had the luxury. I know that that's a luxury. Not everyone has that luxury, but that was what I did for my financial planning before I went out there and bought a car and bought a home. Not a home, an apartment. And make sure your savings is a percentage, not an amount, because then as your income goes up, you stay at that 20%. Is this easy to do? No. Is being in shape easy? No. Is eating right easy? No. Is making money easy? No. Nothing is easy, but it's another thing you got to do if you want to be successful in a huge area in your life. And this is just some investor psychology, right? Invest for the long term. That's what we teach our clients, that investments are long term. There are no short term returns that you can depend on. Short term, everybody is Nothing is predictable. Long-term, everything is predictable. So you want to plan based on predictable returns. That happens when you invest for the long term. Okay. Emotionally stable during down markets, ups and downs. Key is in the market, not timing the market. Use tax-deferred investment vehicles. Anyone have questions about money, finance, investments in general? You should have your own financial plan done. You should have IRAs, you should have your mutual funds, you should have your emergency accounts. Sit down with someone here that's securities licensed. Our minimum is 50. We make nothing off of that. But if you're here, take advantage. Jeff?
I have a book recommendation that talks a lot about this stuff. I have it here. The Dumb Things Smart People Do with Their Money by Jill Sessions.
Yeah.
Lessinger.
Yeah.
So I just picked it up.
Thank you.
How well do you recommend the match program from America, the money accumulation program to do some of the things that you're saying? Right?
Yeah, the money accumulation program is like a self-funded 401k that Primerica has. So they're not putting any money in it for you, but let's say that I get $1,000 of Primerica commission. I can say, hey, 25% go into some investment account. So what we tell people is that once you get licensed, set up your MAP account. So you don't get all that commission directly to you. It goes into an investment that could potentially pay future taxes, or it could be savings, or whatever it is that you want to use for. But Shaq started me on that the day that I started, and I still have it today. Awesome.
I got a question.
Yeah.
If somebody has a goal to get rich, what's a number that, like, in savings, you could say, oh, I've gotten to this point and I can be considered rich or wealthy?
It's relative, man. People use it as a median of the country or an average of the country, or you know, they base it on the average amount of money someone has to live in. But a very wealthy people, I heard one time who said at 50 million, you can have everything you want in your life. You don't need more than 50 million, right? Someone said that. But that's like, I think that for people that are young today and you want to retire, and the way compound interest works, like if you just start fully funding stuff right now, you're guaranteed to have 5 million. You're going to be rich. You just can't be rich now, right? The only way you can be rich now is if you hit a home run, or within a couple years, if you build a business, this one or another one, that pays you massive passive income, right? Like if you're making 100 grand a month, you are freaking rich, man. So what Primerica says is, hey, if you produce, you can make money. That helps. If you recruit, you can make the money that you want, and it comes in passively, and that's where real life starts. Very big difference between making money and then making money passively. You know? Anything else?
How much, when you talk about the budget, but for giving purposes, how much is a good place to give, so that you not get the happy run afterwards, or you know?
That's personal. I give a good amount, right? There's been years where I have given 100,000, right? So that's a personal thing. That was a personal goal of mine. And yeah, it is a tax. Some of that stuff is a tax deduction. Other years is 20, 30, 40, 50. It just depends, but that's a whole nother talk, but I do believe in that.
I just thought of something when you said what you said. I don't know if it's relevant or not, but you used to like do something with me about like Bruce's income and like how much you would need to have saved in a like bond fund or bank account to like cross compare with. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Is that relevant to what you just said?
it's a calculation, but yeah, it's not, but it's a good one.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Where is the best place to put, like your money at for it to double? I know you were
talking about 4% wasn't a lot, so like, and you saying not in the bank, so is it all in stocks or
So
for long term?
the majority of people that invest money in mutual funds. That mutual funds are stocks. But it's a basket of stocks. So if you think about a basket and it has hundreds of stocks inside of it. The average person, and I don't even know if you guys know this. If I said go buy 100 stocks right now, most people can't afford to do that. 100 stocks takes a lot of money. So what a mutual fund does is they say, you can give us $100. You don't have to give us 100,000. You can give us $100 and we will take $1 and put it into 100 different companies. Now, the idea is that if I own 100 companies, more are going to go up than go down. Just from the strength of the American economy and the people that are managing it. So out of my 100, if more go up than go down, I get a positive return.
So basically, a mutual fund hedges against some of the risk involved in investing in only one stock by
Yes.
spreading it out
Yes.
over multiple.
Single stock risk in individual stocks, you have humongous exposure to the downside. You can lose everything. You can lose everything in single stocks. But when you have 100 stocks in your portfolio, it's almost impossible to lose everything or even that much, and it can recover very quickly. So you're protected through diversification. Anyway, that's a whole different training. But the point is that you want to invest on something called mutual funds, and whoever you're working with can tell you about it. So rate of return generally is like right now, the 10-year average is about 12%. I think conservatively, you can say you'll do 9%. Right? And what we do is we say the rule of 72, if you take the number 72 and you divide it by even 9, your money will double every 8 years. Okay, so that answers your question. And on a conservatively, whatever amount of money you put into mutual funds, in 8 years, it will double.
One more question. So if I look into mutual funds, are you getting a share in each of these things, or is it a percentage in each stock?
It's a percent.
So what they do is they bundle it into one share to make it easy for you. And they say, okay, if you give us $100 in a mutual fund, we will give you one, you can buy one share, you can buy 10 shares, depending on how much you put in. But that one share, let's say, is $50, it will go up or down in value based on the performance of this basket. But you'll just see that one share. You won't see Apple, Google, Exxon. You won't see all of that in your portfolio. Okay, guys, we got to end. So let's set a bunch of appointments. We're in that 10 days go by. We're in that second 10-day period. Trying to have a record month. Team on 3. 1, 2, 3.